Hello and welcome to Aspire. Today we'll be looking at work ticket management and looking at our work tickets after an event for snow. So we're going to discover how to manage lists related to snow, and we're also going to learn how to analyze those work tickets for accurate invoicing. Let's go in and have a look at our system here. We're going to be dealing with that step between accepting time entry and accepting the information that came from the crews and invoicing. We're going to navigate straight over to our work tickets section, and we're going to have a look at some lists that we may want to create and use to understand how our billing might be flowing after this event. In this particular list, we'll go up to the filter icon. Right now, we have a scheduled start date filter. You can limit this to the days of the snow event itself that you're looking to make sure is accurate. Of course, we have our tickets for the division of snow. If we're doing any other work during this time frame, we don't really want to deal with that at this particular time. There may be some other filters that you will need to set up as well while creating these lists for yourself, depending on your company situation. But those are the two we're going to start with as we look through our list today. Once we set those filters, we're going to be able to group our list by certain fields. So here in the top left of our screen, we can see that we're filtering for scheduled start date and then for the property name. This is helpful to allow us to see the services that are supplied to a particular property on a particular date within the duration of that snow event. So this will show us here that on the 18th, we serviced 3 properties, and you'll see the services listed there, 3 snowplow 1 to 3 inch services. On the 20th, we just went to one location to salt the property. And then if we scroll down and look on the 21st, it seems that that was the bulk of the event. We have a number of visits at one property and a few at some others. So this is a way for you to look at the event day by day, try to recall how that event played out, and then we can start to understand the information we're looking at on the screen. So that could be one list that we're looking at. This is going to be looking at just our tickets that occurred during this time frame. We're also going to show our status in this list. Okay, so we're going to see what status those tickets are in. They should all be in scheduled status, right? Because we're reviewing this event before we start to do invoicing. And we'll be able to understand what needs to happen with each of these services as we move through our steps. So once we have these services in view, there's going to maybe be a number of things that will need to happen with this information. We may have services that are duplicated. So we have a service for a client that we performed earlier in the day, we went again later, and we aren't able to bill them twice. We can only bill them once for that particular day because the effort that we put out on that day was fairly minimal. So we may need to remove a service and combine 2, right? So in this particular case here with Extreme Auto, we have 2 snowplow 1 to 3 services. They were both scheduled for the same day. One has hours on it and the other doesn't. So we can combine these 2 services. We could move the costs from one to the other. In this situation, we have 0 hours on the one service, so we may not do that. But what you can do is you can delete the as needed ticket from here. Okay, so we don't need this particular service. The other thing you can do as well is, because this service is in scheduled status, you would be able to swap the costs from this ticket to another ticket. In order to carry out this function completely though, we do need to know the work ticket number that we are going to bring the costs to. So we're going to remember this work ticket number of 13103. We're going to come into our three-dot menu. We're going to choose Swap Work Ticket Cost. And then the easiest way to do this is to type in our work ticket number. So again, by using that T letter prefix and then a space and then the number of the work ticket, that will help us navigate to the exact work ticket that we would like to swap the costs to. Okay, so here's our work ticket. We know that by the number. We remembered that from the previous screen. So here it's just going to give us a summary of what's happening, and we're going to take the labor costs that are on the ticket and swap them over. If there were material costs or equipment or sub or other anything like that, we would also see those listed below labor as a cost. You do have the option to pick either labor or materials or both. Generally speaking, when we're performing this action, though, we're doing everything. It is not a situation with swap work ticket costs where we can leave a portion of this labor hours on the ticket and just take a little bit. It is all or nothing. So it is truly what it seems to mean when you read the term. We are swapping the costs from the ticket to another ticket, and we're not leaving anything behind. We're going to clean it out of cost. So we're going to agree to this. We're going to say, okay, let's do that. And now we're going to see here that we have our ticket. The hours that were on it are now gone. The ticket still exists, though, because it is still a work ticket in our system. We'll go back to our work ticket list and have a look at this for a minute. You'll see now that our actual hours over here, we now have 0, and we would be able to delete this because we do not have any costs on it. You can see our actual costs columns are zeroed. So now at this point, like we saw earlier, we can click on the box, go to our bulk actions, and delete our as needed ticket so that it's not in the system anymore and doesn't generate a sell price and an invoice to our client. What that will do is for Extreme Auto, we now just have the one work ticket available, and we can move forward. We could complete that ticket and push through some invoicing for that event. The other thing we may do with our work ticket list as we see it here is there could have been a situation, maybe there's regional snow events that are more severe or less severe, and we may not know exactly when we're scheduling the work how that event may play out in the different regions. So we may be in a situation where one of these properties on the 18th had to push more snow than 3 inches. So what we can do with that, from this list, we can check off the box. We can come up here to bulk actions and we can swap as needed. Okay, and we can look for a snowplow 3.1 to 6, for example. Once we hit save on that, what will happen now is this service is changed. The costs have remained on the ticket. And now instead of the 1 to 3 service, we will have a 3 to 6 service that we can invoice the client. We can do this in bulk. This was in the bulk actions drop down. We just did 1 as our example here. However, you could select a 1 to 3 service for multiple properties. So you can do it in bulk and swap them all out to the correct depth of event. Okay, so in that way, you don't have to go back and change anything on time entry. You can do it all from your work ticket list. You can make sure the correct service is showing based on how the event progressed. Maybe you're doing this after you get your snow totals from your snow event service. And then we can make sure that we're invoicing correctly. We want that accurate invoicing. We don't want to have people question whether or not we should be invoicing the correct thing. So those are some things that we can do as we start to look through the tickets in this particular list, looking at a confined event and analyzing whether or not we have the correct services that have been used, whether we have the correct costs on all of the work tickets, and whether or not we can then push these through to invoicing accurately. Okay, so this is primarily an operational task, because the people who are looking at these work tickets and making these decisions will have to also have some understanding as to how the event unfolded and how that needs to be then translated into invoicing. Some other lists you may want to look at is just in general what your snow operations are like over the course of a month or a certain time period. You can do that with your generic end of month work ticket lists and just filter for the snow division if you would like. There may be some others that you would like to look at based on what you would like to know, right? Maybe you want to look at each invoice type individually, right? We can add those filters and we can look at just a particular invoice type of work tickets. You could potentially look at certain property zips, right? You could create a list according to that. Again, saving these lists will help you in your later events. If it's something you find you're looking at every event, you can save these lists and have them in your drop down up at the top here to choose and to make sure that you're looking at similar information after every event. Of course, in order to push a lot of these through to invoicing, if we look through all of our work tickets here and we're happy with them and we want to push them through to invoicing, we can bulk select those services for this event. We're going to make sure we uncheck our fixed payment services, right? We don't want to complete those work tickets. That one occurrence has to last us all winter. Then we can come in and we can complete these work tickets. Okay. Choosing a crew leader will be mandatory. So keep that in mind when we're bulk selecting our tickets as well. You'll have to make sure that that information is accurate if that reporting is important to you. So if you'd like to look at your work ticket pivot report later on and look at the tickets that have been completed by a certain crew leader, this information will be important. The completed date will also be important for you to think about because that will be reflecting on your invoice. So something to think about as well, both of these fields, when you're bulk selecting work tickets, you're going to want to make sure that your crew leader and your completed date will be the same for all the tickets that you're selecting. Helps with that reporting element, and in this situation of the completed date will also help with clarity on the invoicing. Okay, so in this situation, we have some flexibility. We're going to choose the 22nd for the end date of this particular situation. Okay, so right now what it's saying is we have an error for a particular work ticket on this list, 2 of them, in fact. The first one is fairly easy because we see here this pending approval status. Right? So we're trying to complete a work ticket that has a pending approval status. It won't let you do that. And then there are some other tickets. There's another ticket here that has some issues with our time entry that hasn't yet been accepted. Okay, so the system will call that out for you so that even though you're looking at your work tickets now, you won't be able to move forward with tickets that are not either in the right status or have outstanding costs assigned to them. So it's helpful then, we can go back and look at our process that should have been completed prior to doing this, right? Where we need to go back and look at some time entry first. So it's very important then, right, that this is happening, as I mentioned earlier in the video, after time entry. We want to make sure that our crews are giving us the time, our time is being accepted, and then we're managing our work tickets. So I can uncheck those two, come into bulk actions, and complete those. We'll choose our crew leader again and our date. Okay, and then we'll complete those tickets and move forward. Hopefully that gave you a bit of an understanding as to how to set up lists in Aspire to manage your work tickets, the importance of doing this as well to make sure that invoicing is as accurate as possible. Hopefully it also illustrates the importance of having this as part of your process after an event, that we're going to need to make sure we do that post-event analysis and make sure that costing is accurate, that work tickets are being distributed according to what happened in the event and to the correct properties, the right picture is being shown, and then our tickets are put into that complete status so that we can move forward into invoicing correctly. We look forward to seeing you on the next video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Take care.